few years ago, I saw a wonderful exercise that was performed by one of our colleagues here at INSEAD on product development. And here's the way the exercise went. You have a group of 20 executives in a room, and you ask 4 of them to be volunteers, and they become consumers. You ask the remaining 16 to put themselves into 4 groups of 4 people each. At that point, you ask each of those teams to develop a car for the 4 customers. And right before they go into their group breakouts, you give them a big box of Legos, thousands of Lego pieces, all jumbled together randomly. And they have 1 hour, and the clock is ticking. What do the groups do? They quickly start sorting the things. But one of them, at one point, realizes, hey, maybe we should ask the customers what they want in a car. So one of the people leaves the group breakouts, goes and interviews the customer. The market researcher comes back into the group. Everyone stops sorting the Lego pieces and listens to the market researcher. The clock's ticking. There's only 2 minutes left. Quickly, they tell the market researcher to stop talking. Everyone rushes, puts the Lego pieces together, makes a car, and then they show it to the customer. And on a rating scale from 1 to 10, it's roughly 1.5. So what did we learn from that exercise? The first is, nobody has time to listen to market researchers. And 2, sometimes the research isn't all that relevant. And some of the groups realized that maybe the most effective way to build a car using Lego pieces is to invite the customer into the breakout room and have them build the car with Lego pieces. And then the customer chooses exactly what they want, and at the end of it, their rating of the car's quality is about a 9.5. Recently at INSEAD, we've been using that principle of inviting the customer into our garage in order to create executive education curriculum and content. Let me share a story about how we applied this to one of the world's largest multinational companies, where they wanted a very particular type of curriculum that had never been seen before. In particular, we focused on what we called wellness interventions. And then we brought designers, and they sketched all of these different wellness ideas, just brainstorming on a piece of paper. A few weeks later, we invited the client into our garage, a space that's used for creative thinking and design. And at that point, the pieces were coming together. Debates occurred about what did this piece mean? Could we change the piece? The criteria for the interventions were very rigorous at the beginning. They had to be shareable. So once an executive learned the intervention, they could share it with their own team members. It had to be scalable within a very short time frame, so it wouldn't take years for people to share that intervention. It had to be short, only 5 to 10 minutes long. We wanted to make it very impactful, memorable. One of the most important events maybe in that person's life would be that intervention. The most important aspects of doing this kind of co-design in curriculum is first to have a facilitator who understands that process. At INSEAD, that's Manuel Sosa.
It's very exciting to see how this chaotic type of process is not as chaotic, that if you put structure into a process that on the surface look chaotic, can actually lead to the outcome that we were expecting. And the reason we are excited about that at this point in the day, despite all the energy and work, is because we see that is happening. We see that we can actually achieve that objective. It has been quite a highly energizing and inspiring day. I think this would be very hard not to do in a space that doesn't empower us to feel different, to think different, to explore different possibilities, and then from a more tangible way. I mean, the space allows to reconfigure things, to reorder things in a very easy way. The same way that Post-its allows you to move concepts from one location to another one, and think about that in a very in a macro space. I think this space allows you to do that, to move storyboards, to move, to reconfigure yourself, and in a very easy way. I think that is enabled here.
We were lucky to work with a company that wanted to co-design. Not all clients are comfortable doing that. They may not feel like it's the right thing to do, but in this case we were very fortunate. We had a client who was actively engaged and wanted to co-create with us.
Having in the room today a few people from Unilever with our background and our experience, people from other disciplines, from the business school is really, really helpful to get a good creative output. To get better outcomes, you need to bring those people into the creative process, not create and review, create and review. I think that really makes sense as a process, and that you therefore need to have more people playing with the blocks, creating new blocks in order to get the outcomes that we want. So I think one of the things that's always really inspiring is to get new ideas, but also get to realise that actually some of the concepts that you find really powerful, other people find powerful, but they've come at it a completely different way, have a completely different language. Yeah. And that's always really interesting when people come to things very different ways, but there's a kernel of insight there which is shared.
One of the benefits of a co-creation workshop is that ideas that never existed in the first place, or ideas that the customer themselves have, are brought in and new Lego pieces are created. Lego pieces that go beyond what academics might think are very useful Lego pieces, but completely new ones can be created. And once you have those Lego pieces, they can actually interconnect with other ones, and fundamentally new things can emerge